Sisters engaging everyone. We inspire you to be the best that you can become. Uplift and empower you with stories we share. No one else can compare to Sisters engaging everyone.
Welcome, everyone. Tonight, first of all, we have the beautiful Honeybee, my real sister. We are sisters engaging in everyone.
Hello, yes, we are.
So before we get going, I said that I would be reading Tupac's The Rose That Grew from Concrete. However, today is our mother's transitional anniversary. So we thought it would be great to talk about grief and the process and what it means and how we're going through it and all of that stuff. So with that being said, I am Mimi and your girl.
Honeybee.
My sister Honeybee, and we're going to break down grief.
So let's talk about grief because it's always imperative that we define our terms so that everybody will understand where we're coming from. Grief is a normal response when there is a major loss, such as a death. However, grief can be felt by a person with a serious or a long-term illness, and it may include feelings of great sadness, anger, guilt, and despair. There are 7 stages of grief. So let's talk about them.
All right. So with stage 1 of grief is shock. And shock sometimes is unavoidable because even when we expect that someone is going to pass, we never fully prepare ourselves when it occurs. Most people appear to be having normal emotions because the loss hasn't sunk in yet. Then they might experience numbness and go into a self-protection mode and detach from the entire situation.
And I'm going to add a little bit to that because with this shock, I don't care how much you feel like you're being prepared. You until that day actually occurs, you are not prepared. You will never know exactly how you're going to feel until that person is no longer in existence. So you just can't prepare for it, no matter if that person is in hospice or that person. We all know that we have a date attached to us, but you just can't prepare for it emotionally, mentally or emotionally. You just can't prepare for it. So let's go on, and we're going to talk about denial. Denial is something that does not feel real. And we begin to question ourselves and say, how could they not be here? When our mom passed, we thought we were prepared. We didn't know because she was existing, and we took off time to take care of our parent because we opted not to send her to a SNF, a skilled nursing facility. So we sacrificed and we took time and took turns taking care of her. And we just believed that, she was going to be here as long as God wanted her to be here. And so we took care of her every day. We dressed her up. We put her makeup on as if she was going somewhere. And so it wasn't a point that we were in denial. It was just we went on with our daily lives and included her in that process. In addition to shock and denial, people might also experience having a mental fog, which could include a lack of concentration and forgetfulness, a lack of motivation and the ability to focus or make decisions, and lethargy and difficult sleeping. It is pressure. It is something that attacks or attaches itself into your emotional well-being, and that's something that we need to deal with.
Exactly. Exactly. And like you said, a lot of people don't even recognize that they're either in denial or that they're having trouble. You know, they just chalk it up to depression, but not really honing in on the fact of all these other things that go along with it.
Let me stick a pin in that real quick, Mimi, because I think that we were I want to say sort of in denial a little bit, but we were on edge. We
Mhm.
were on edge because it definitely impacted us all differently.
Mhm.
And we were not even aware of each other's emotional well being because we were so concerned about mother's well being.
Absolutely, because first of all, we thought she was a hero. I mean,
Yes.
our mother really, really fought. And it was just crazy to us that it happened the way it happened because it didn't happen on our watch. So
Yeah.
we were like, whew, but
Yes.
it was sort of surreal that
God was
it
good with
happened
us to that.
when it did happen. Because we thought in our minds that she probably would live longer than Moses, in some instances, not trying to be funny, but really in my mind, I'm like, she's got this. All the stuff that she went through, she's got,
Yes.
it, you know.
Yes.
Anyway, there's also the third is anger. And with anger, a lot of
Mhm.
people don't like to mention that they're feeling angry because, for one, they don't want to be judged. They don't want people to judge them for being mad. Being mad. A lot of people tend to be mad at God because they blame Him for taking their loved one. And then other people are feeling angry because they feel that other people are not understanding that they're grieving and that they're going through something. And people feel that when someone is grieving, oh, your mom died several years ago, you should be over it. And that just doesn't happen. Grieving is a process and everybody goes through it in their own different ways. And I myself, I never blamed God. I never blamed God. So I can't say I was angry. Um, if I was angry at myself, but not at anyone else. So I can't place my
Oh,
anger there.
well, this is where we're going to differ because I was angry at those physicians.
Mm, mm,
I
mm,
definitely was angry at the physicians because I felt like they knew something that we didn't know
mm, mm-hmm,
and they kept it from us.
mm-hmm.
Hindsight's 2020. You remember the day when we went to
Yeah,
go visit mom in the hospital and
yes.
the way that the nurse was
Looking at her
looking
chart,
at her
talking
chart and
to the
she was
other nurse.
concerned about something, but
Mm-hmm,
she never told us what it was because I think you were asking when they were going to resume her G tube, when were
mm-hmm,
they going to resume her feeding,
mm-hmm,
and she looked at something in the chart and then she said, and then she went and got the other nurse.
mm-hmm.
And when she went got the other nurse came back and she says, "I'm concerned with this," and she was pointing at something
But
on
not
the
telling
screen,
us what it
and
was.
but she never told us exactly what the concern was. And she said
Mhm,
she was going to speak with the chief of staff of the doctor that was involved and get a consensus for him as to whether or not that feeding would be resumed anytime soon. So
mhm,
quite naturally, my mindset is something is going on.
mhm.
Anytime you and the other thing she did was she spent the computer around so that we could not see it
Right, right, right.
when she saw it. And so I see everything. I see when people do little things. I'm always so observant that I caught wind to her behavior and her mannerisms as to what was going on. So I didn't want to I didn't want to excite you, Mimi, that day when we were there, but when I walked out the room, I actually went up to the desk and I had a conversation with her about that
Mhm.
and I explained it to her, but I didn't want you to get worried or anything. So I just kind of kept it between her and I. And I told her, whoever you're going to be getting in touch, we need you to do that right away because we need to have answers. We are concerned about her not being fed, and we want to know what's going on.
I
So
guess just to piggyback on that, I guess when I think back, initially, I was mad that it happened on their watch. Something as simple as aspirating.
mhm,
I felt like, are you kidding me?
mhm.
We took care of her all this time at home and she didn't aspirate on ours. And if she did, we got it up and got her okay. But I guess I say all that to say, I didn't realize that it made me, there was an anger.
Yeah, it made you feel some kind of way because it made me feel some kind of way.
And
Um,
hold on, I'm sorry. But I also I think when I thought back too, I thought, did they try hard enough? Was it because she was a DNR? You know, um,
yeah,
did you guys try? And so when I think about that, that did make me angry.
yes.
So I did go through that.
And that's so unfortunate because even though, sometimes when people opt for the DNR, um, I just wonder if, they didn't watch her. That was my concern. They didn't watch her the way that they should have watched her.
Or they just didn't do any extra measures. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, she's DNR, so if she's aspirating, just
Right.
let it happen, And that's unfortunate, but sometimes
They
that
were saying that they were struggling with her. She didn't want them to suction her or something to that effect. So, her mother
I don't know.
mother was a fighter. She don't care who you were. She felt like, you were doing something wrong. She gonna fight you and let you know.
Yeah.
However it worked itself out. Let's go on into bargaining.
Okay.
Bargaining is about vowing to do things differently if another opportunity or asking a higher power to change the order of things. And I'm going to say this. COVID caught, or that pandemic, let's put it that way, caught everybody off guard, because we used to stay with mother every time she went to the hospital. We stayed with her. Somebody was there 24 hours with her. We never let her stay in the hospital alone. However, during this particular time, we weren't allowed to stay there.
Right.
And so, just the way the series of events took place, that would be the only thing that I would have done was, be more firm at staying there. But then I also understand that sometimes God moves things for a reason. And so there is nothing else that I believe that I could have done within my power.
No.
If given another opportunity, I just don't know, because I felt like she was in good hands at that particular time. And I didn't, even though I did have the concern about what they saw on that chart that they didn't tell us about, but that wasn't life threatening. That's not what caused her to pass away.
Well, no, because I recall when she was admitted, we took her there for feeding, and then they said, oh, she has COVID. And I'm like, she doesn't have COVID. She hasn't been nowhere. Who would have gave her COVID? And then the doctor came in and said, you know what? It's not COVID. They just have to say that because she has one of the symptoms, but it was her sodium that was low.
Oh, that was the first time she went to the hospital.
Yeah.
When we had that issue, yes.
I said all that to say.
Oh, now that I'm not trying to cut you off, but I don't like to relive that situation because I still have every photograph of mother when she came home during that stay from the hospital, and the way that her body was and the way that they didn't care for her well. I still have every one of those photos.
Yes. But I say that because she lived through all of that.
Yes, she
That's
did.
why I said she became a hero, in fact,
Yes.
and it's like, wait a minute, people that were younger than her, that had less disabilities than her, were passing, bless their hearts, but
Hmm.
they were checking out of here with COVID.
Right.
And I said, wow, if our mother, you know, made it through that,
Yes, she did.
no, then you know what? She's good. She's good. And so that's what I believed. So now we're going to talk about stage 5, which is depression,
Hmm.
feelings of anxiety, isolation. Uh, the grief is too painful and no one understands how you feel. Feelings of wanting to join that person. These are levels that people experience during grief. And I myself, I can't say that I had feelings of wanting to join her, but I did feel like, why? Why? Again, not mad at God,
Hmm.
but it just made me question why. And
Yeah.
and so there were some days when, I was okay, and some days I was sad because I just felt like, I guess my thing is, I didn't want mom to go alone with no family member there.
Right.
Side.
Right.
And I think it was actually your daughter that made me see
Yeah.
that, you know what, Auntie, it probably was for the best. That was God's way of protecting
Correct.
you, and so
Yeah.
wasn't until she told me that I was able to realize that, you know what, you're right. But, so there were times, when, if you recall, I went on a fast, for a couple of days after it happened because I was,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. And it was
Right. It was
because I was,
difficult for you to accept.
yeah, I wasn't purposely trying to, but I just didn't have an appetite.
Hmm.
I just didn't. I couldn't. So that.
Yeah.
But
It was difficult. That's why we're going to move on into stage number 6, which is acceptance and hope.
mm,
Because as my sister is sharing, it it was a struggle for her to accept it. It
mm.
definitely was a struggle for her, um, based upon her behavior. Now, I'm not sure of how everyone else goes with the acceptance, but I know she was cutting up. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey,
Acceptance is understanding that you cannot change the circumstances, having patience with yourself, and hoping that in time you will gain strength to move forward without feeling overwhelmed, giving yourself permission to grieve. And I think this stage right here can just stop progression
mm,
in an individual if you are not willing to go through the process.
mm,
What I mean by that is grief is real.
mm,
And you can't pretend like, oh, I'm okay. Because as much as, you know, mom's quality of life to me was a concern, um, I still didn't want her to go. I still didn't want her to be, to pass away, because physically you could still hold her, hug her, love on her. She was still there. She was so beautiful, and so we still cherished every time we could walk in that room, and she'd be laying there looking at us, and just her presence,
yeah.
you know, was something to behold. So, um, accepting it, I was able to accept it, but I'm like, I didn't like it at all.
It's hard. And I think even now, sometimes even though I have accepted it, and I realize there's nothing I can do about it, I can't change it, I can't uh, bring her back. Um, I do struggle with sometimes again, feeling like, what if I could have? What if, if this would have happened, if that would have happened, if I wouldn't have left the night before,
Mm,
an hour before visiting time was over.
mhm,
If just a lot of things had I, you think about, for me, I guess I kind of go back into thinking,
mm,
that she's going to be okay. So it's like, I wanted more,
mhm,
I wanted
mhm,
to go back because
mhm.
it happened, the onset of her becoming immobile happened so quickly
Yes.
that I go back to the times when she was mobile and she could get out of bed and walk and do this. And so it's like, during that time, what did I not do?
Mm,
So I struggle with that sometimes, but not to the point where it's debilitating.
yes.
But it is a constant, you know, could I have done, did I do enough,
Mhm,
even as a daughter, to show her that, how much I appreciated her, even though we told her, she told us, we, said we
mhm.
love you, and hugged and did things like that. There's always that feeling of, did I do enough? Could I have done more?
Let's talk about the stage 7 here.
Okay. Well, stage 7 is processing grief.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there isn't a right, there isn't a wrong way to grieve. Everybody's process varies, and everyone heals differently. And so, to that, we say, be patient with
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and allow yourself the time to grieve and to
Right.
process it all, because what makes sense to you may not make sense to someone else, and what you're feeling someone else can't. Even though we're sisters, biological blood sisters, we still process and go through it differently.
Correct. Correct. Well, I think this is a little time that if anyone is experiencing any overwhelming feeling of grief, please contact your local grief hotline for help or speak to someone that you can trust. There's a phone number, 866 903 3787. Once again, that number is 866 903 3787, or you can call someone and contact them and speak to them about what's going on emotionally with you. Now, sis, have you experienced any of the 7 signs of grief? If
Yeah.
so, please share.
We kind of talked about it uh, as we were going along. Like I said, I did have anger, not at God, um, at the medical professionals, um, and like I said, a little bit of depression in the first beginning.
Yes.
Um, not like I said, not wanting to eat. Um, Denial, not believing that she was gone, and that,
Mm-hmm.
our beloved superhero Shiro, um, was gone.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Um, I don't think it hit me initially because you know, I just tried to prepare myself every time I went to see mother. I tried to prepare myself for the day,
Mhm.
for that day to come. However, I think it hit me one day when I was driving
Mm.
and a song came on. I will, what is it? I'll always love my mama. She's my favorite girl. And that just set me mentally in a place where I just could not stop crying.
Yeah.
And I think it was good because it allowed me to purge a lot of the hidden emotions and feelings that I had internalized,
Mhm.
and it allowed me to kind of like woosah and feel like, okay, this is what I needed to do. This right here that had been on my shoulders, on my neck, and it might have been a little bit of denial in there somewhere, but it was holding on to me so tight that when that song came on, that song and I think Tupac has a song that um
Dear Mama.
Dear Mom that he put out. Oh my God, when I hear those songs, it's a reflective moment for me. A reflective moment for me as to where I am in this process and whether or not I'm through the process. And actually, to be honest with you, I'm not through the process.
I think we never will. Like I said, there are times when, I could be doing something and look in the mirror and I go, oh, that was mom's face. What?
Oh my goodness, I do that. Let me tell you something. I when I look in the mirror, I feel the same way. Like I'm looking at mother, certain times, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
it's kind of scary for me. It's kind of scary because I'm like, that's a mom face right there.
And you know what? And like you said, songs and things that she used to say and do, and that would just make us laugh because she just didn't know. Like the song, remember her favorite song in the beginning used to be "Just Call Me the Traveling Man." Well,
Right?
she didn't know it said traveling, so she was saying, "Just call me the Chocolate Man."
Yeah.
Like you saying it doesn't say
That look. My favorite thing was when she would say, "Shut your mouth."
"Oh mouth."
I said, "Shut your mouth." That
So
New England accent was always there. Shut your mouth.
we we as I said, we're gonna always hear her voice. We're gonna
Yes.
always see her, and these are the things that keep me going. It
Mm-hmm.
truly does. Although sometimes, like you said, it can make me sad, but it warms my heart and
Mm-hmm.
joy, that we do have those good memories.
I just think, when those times come and when I do feel like she's close to me, I just talk to her as if she was sitting right next to me, and I do keep it brief. I don't, have a long all day conversation, but I may say, "Hey, mom," or "Hello, mother. How are you?" And that helps me get through the process because I don't have dreams or anything like that. Most of my encounters are while I am awake.
Mm-hmm. I'm
And
gonna
I told you about that. I told you about that encounter that was just that shook me. Okay, so we're gonna move on. We're not gonna rehash that. That's for another video or something like that. But
I'm gonna say one thing that I do feel guilty about,
mhm.
and that's uh not not going to the graveside as much. I thought I would be going virtual almost every day or every
Okay.
time, initially, but I haven't gone, with her and dad being in the same place and then
Mm-hmm.
together now. I sometimes feel like I went more after he passed.
Mm.
Now that mom has passed, of course, her after it first happened, and then Mother's Day, and then her birthday, and then now it's like I'm having a hard time getting back there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not because I don't think about her. It's just something in me is, having a hard time getting there. And so I do feel guilty that I went more when dad was there by himself.
I think that's something that'll pass. That's why the day of the funeral and stuff, I made sure I said I was not gonna leave until they tapped the ground.
Mhm.
I stayed there the entire time because that was my closure moment.
Mm, mm.
Having them fill the ground with the dirt, tap it down, and that was my closure. I'm not a person that goes to graveyards.
Well, mom used to say, it's not there. I'm not there. I won't be there.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
so
I
it's
think
so instilled in me that she's not there. I'm like, why would I go?
I think that's why it's kind of, why I struggle with it because I'm like, okay, well, this is how mom felt about it. You-
Right. Yeah.
Um, so I
And
think
so and we try to live by those principles that she instilled in us about certain things. And so I think when I'm, if someone else wants me to go with them, I don't have a problem doing that because we did celebrate it on a Mother's Day at one time, but it's not something that I would just say I'm getting up and I'm going. Like I know, our siblings do.
like
I'm
today, I would have, this being her anniversary, I would have went there, but
yeah,
I chose not to.
yeah.
So,
I'm leaving the feelings in that tapped soil
mm, mm,
because I won't be able to function well if I don't.
mhm,
I'm being honest about that because then it's going to be like a magnet that's going to continue to draw me there like there is no closure. And in order for me to move forward, I have to have the closure. Um, I have to have the closure there. So that's just how I dealt with it. And I pray that you're going to get to that point where, it we can acknowledge it, but
it
it
doesn't.
doesn't break us down emotionally.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, sis, I know if I am struggling, or whatever, you're always there. And, I can call you, I can speak to you, and vice versa. And
Right.
as sisters engaging everyone, we are here for you guys as well. If anyone is struggling,